Listen carefully, because what you are about to hear is not an ordinary welcome. This is the voice that rises from the quiet after everyone stopped believing. This is the echo that still stands when the crowd leaves and the lights dim. This is where your story begins again. Not from the applause, not from the recognition, but from the silence that was heavy enough to make you question your own worth. They built entire teams to replicate you. They studied your steps, your rhythm, your focus, your vision. They gathered experts to decode your instincts. They thought they could manufacture your magic. And now they're failing in 4K, because what they never understood is that you were not built. You were born. You were carved through sleepless nights, through invisible struggles, through moments that never made the highlight reels. You were shaped by fire, not formula, and no matter how many times they try to engineer your greatness, they will never replicate your soul. They watched you when you moved like no one else could, when you turned pressure into art, when you took what broke you and made it your armor. They called it luck. They called it coincidence. They called it timing, because calling it purpose would mean admitting that you had something they could never copy. They saw you rise when you had every reason to fall. They saw you keep going when every door closed. They saw you turn rejection into raw energy. They saw you stay quiet and build in silence while they broadcasted their progress to the world. And now the world is watching them fail in high definition while you stand untouched by imitation. You see, people forget that greatness isn't about doing what's possible. It's about doing what was never meant to be done. They tried to replicate your results without understanding your reason. They built systems, but you had scars. They had plans, but you had purpose. They had meetings, but you had meaning. They had budgets, but you had belief. They had blueprints, but you had blood. And when it came down to it, every calculation they made collapsed because they never measured your heart. They never calculated the strength that comes from starting over. They never accounted for the power that comes from being counted out. The truth is, you were never competing with them. You were competing with yesterday's version of yourself. And that is the most dangerous opponent anyone can face, because you never stop, because you never settle, because you never surrender. You learn to grow in places no one thought growth was possible. You learn to speak in silence. You learn to fight invisible battles. You learn that the real reward isn't recognition, it's resilience. They don't understand that your process was not meant to be seen. It was meant to be felt. And that's why every copy fades while you remain. You've become the proof that authenticity cannot be cloned. They can replicate your moves, but not your motives. They can study your steps, but not your spirit. They can mirror your work, but not your will. And that's why every version of you they build eventually breaks, because they were chasing the product, not the process. They wanted your result, but not your reality. They wanted your outcome, but not your obstacles. They wanted your crown, but not your cross. And that is why they're failing right before the eyes of the very world. They tried to convince that you were replaceable. But you cannot replace a frequency. You cannot copy a calling. You cannot download divine design. Your essence was never coded. It was created from something deeper, something that cannot be seen under microscopes or measured by algorithms. It's written in the very structure of your struggle. It's tattooed in every scar that told you to stop, and yet you kept moving. This is what they never understood, that your strength was not skill. It was spirit, that your power was not performance. It was perseverance, that your greatness was not granted. It was grown. So let them build, let them copy, let them analyze your blueprints line by line. Because the moment they try to imitate what was born from your pain, they will face what you faced, and they will fall where you stood, because they never carried your burden. They never fought your demons. They never lived your story. They only admired the ending, not the endurance. And that's where the difference lives. That's where you stand apart. That's where the truth rises from the noise. Now breathe, because this is your reminder that you are still the one they talk about, the one they chase, the one they can't recreate, the one whose silence speaks louder than their performance. They tried to recreate your rhythm, but rhythm comes from heartbeats, and they can't sync to what they can't feel. Your rhythm is not a sound, it's a survival. It's the echo of every time you got up, when you had no reason to. It's the pulse that refuses to die. It's the sound of faith under pressure. They're failing in Foucault K, not because they lack resources, but because they lack reason. They don't have your why, they don't have your wounds, they don't have the nights when you cried quietly and still showed up. The next morning, they don't have your hunger, the kind that hurts, the kind that burns. They only have ambition, but ambition without soul collapses. And now you see the truth unfold. Every copied move pixelates, every imitation cracks, every echo fades. But your voice, your presence, your essence remains in perfect focus. You are the original, not by choice, but by challenge, not by design, but by destiny. You didn't ask for this. You were forged for it, and now the world that doubted you is forced to watch as every imitation falls short of your shadow. This is your moment, not for revenge, but for revelation. This is where you understand that you were never meant to blend in. You were meant to break the pattern. This is where you understand that you were never meant to blend in. You are all meant to break the pattern. You were meant to stand where no one stood before. You were meant to turn doubt into design, pain into purpose, silence into symphony. This is where you rise again, not with noise, but with knowing, not with fury, but with focus, not to prove them wrong, but to prove yourself right. Because deep down, you always knew there was something different about you, something rare, something they could never capture, no matter how many cameras they pointed your way, because what you carry was never meant to be seen. It was meant to be felt. They built entire teams to replicate your power. They studied your formula. They copied your frame. But what they didn't see was that the real design was built in the dark, in the moments when no one clapped, when no one noticed, when you worked while the world slept, when you believed while others mocked, when you gave everything to something that gave you nothing. At first, they didn't understand that the secret ingredient was pain, the unfiltered kind, the kind that breaks you and builds you at the same time. They didn't see that what made you different wasn't perfection. It was persistence. It was the refusal to be erased. And now they are learning the hard way that replication without revelation is ruin. They thought they could copy the masterpiece without carrying the cross. They thought they could study your steps and skip your storms. They thought they could own the outcome without enduring the origin. But this world doesn't reward imitation. It rewards identity. It rewards those who dare to stand alone while everyone else seeks shelter in dire sameness. They wanted your fire, but they never faced your flame. They wanted your glory, but they never faced your grief. They wanted your crown, but never your climb. They wanted your spotlight, but never your solitude. They wanted the applause without the agony, the victory without the valleys, the triumph without the tears. But the truth is, greatness is purchased through pain, and you paid in full. And that's why their copies will always crack under pressure. Because what you built was not made of glass, it was made of grit. Every failure, every fall, every fracture taught you something that cannot be taught in classrooms or boardrooms. It taught you patience. It taught you resilience. It taught you the beauty of breaking and rebuilding yourself over and over until you became someone even your past could no longer recognize. They will never understand how you turned wounds into wisdom, how you learned to walk through fear like it was fog, how you learned to breathe through fire and call it growth. They only saw your highlight reel, but not the heavy nights, not the shaking hands, not the whispers of doubt you had to silence with faith. And now you stand here unshaken, unbothered, unbreakable, watching the same ones who once doubted you, now trying to duplicate you and failing frame by frame, pixel by pixel, moment by moment, because the truth cannot be copied, and you are the truth, the living proof that there is no shortcut to becoming who you were destined to be. Every imitation only amplifies your originality. Every attempt to erase you only makes you louder. Every shadow cast on your name only reveals your light. You are not here to compete. You are here to complete what others started, but never had the courage to finish. You are here to carry the legacy of every person who was told they were not enough and still rose anyway. You are here to show that destiny is not decided by popularity, but by persistence. That legacy is not left by the loudest, but by the last one standing. You are the quiet storm that doesn't announce itself, but transforms everything it touches. Remember, they tried to analyze your every move as if your success was a science, but they never realized your greatness was spiritual. It wasn't logic, it was loyalty. It wasn't method, it was meaning. It wasn't luck, it was legacy. They can't explain how you kept going after every fall because they've never been called the way you have. Your calling isn't a contract, it's a covenant, written in the language of endurance. You were not chosen for comfort, you were chosen for challenge, and challenge is what shaped you. Every setback, every betrayal, every closed door was not rejection, it was redirection. It was preparation for a moment like this. So when they now try to recreate your results, they discover that they're missing something invisible, something unteachable, something untouchable. They're missing your faith, the invisible flame that burned quietly while you built. They're missing your inner storm, the one that whispered, "Keep going," when everything screamed, "Stop." They're missing the scars that taught you strategy and the struggles that taught you strength. They thought they could copy your energy, but energy cannot be mimicked because true energy is earned, not learned. It comes from the hours no one saw, from the sacrifices no one thanked you for, from the heartbreaks you never posted about, from the days when you worked in silence while doubt laughed behind you. And now that same doubt is being proven wrong in real time, in crystal clarity, because the world is watching them try and fail while you ride without trying. And this is not arrogance, this is awareness. This is you recognizing that what you have was not given easily, and that's why it cannot be taken easily. This is you realizing that the reason they can't catch up is because you were never running the same race. You were running on purpose while they were running on publicity. You were chasing destiny while they were chasing data. You were moving from calling while they were moving from comparison. And the universe always honors authenticity. So let them build, let them test, let them measure every frame of your work. Because even when they copy your format, they cannot copy your fire. Because your fire is not found in the finished product. It's found in the fight that forged it. And the fight lives in you. Every time you rise again, you prove that resilience cannot be reproduced. Every time you stand again, you show that power is not performance, it's persistence. Every time you create again, you silence every imitation, because creation speaks louder than copying ever could. You are the reminder that no algorithm can predict purpose, no trend can time authenticity, no design can duplicate destiny. You are the embodiment of what happens when divine timing meets human tenacity. They may fail in 4K, but your success will be eternal in memory. not just seen but felt, not just watched but witnessed, because the world doesn't remember the replicas, it remembers the revolutionaries, and you are one. This is your moment, not to boast, but to breathe, not to prove, but to perform, not to compete, but to continue. Because every attempt to copy you only confirms that you are doing something worth copying, and that is the highest form of respect hidden in disguise. So let them fail, let them fall, let them learn. Because the truth is, your journey will always be a mystery to those who never had your fire, your fight, your faith. Your journey will always be a mystery to those who never had your fire, your fight, your faith. Because they will try to study your path as if it were a pattern. But your path was never paved, it was carved. It was cut through resistance, through repetition, through relentless belief. You walked through storms without maps, through shadows without torches, through chaos without comfort. And that is why they cannot trace your steps, because your steps were guided by something greater, something invisible, something eternal. They can imitate your actions, but not your alignment. They can mimic your motion, but not your meaning, because everything you did came from a place they cannot see, the place inside you, where faith whispers, when fear screams, the place where vision speaks, when reality argues, the place where destiny writes, when doubt erases. And that is the reason you move different. That is the reason your silence carries more weight than their speeches. Because when you move with purpose. When you act with awareness. When you rise with reason. They are failing in 4K because their focus was on the frame, while yours was on the foundation. They captured the surface, but you built the soul. They invested in the image, but you invested in the intention. And now that the lights are on, the truth is clear, because time always exposes imitation, the way dawn exposes shadows. And while they scramble to adjust their angles, you stand unmoved, because authenticity never needs adjustment. It simply is. You are not here to explain yourself. You are here to expand yourself. You are here to outgrow every limitation they placed on your name. You are here to stretch beyond what anyone thought possible. You are here to turn impossibility into instruction. You are here to be the living proof that persistence rewrites prediction. They thought they could limit you to their labels, but labels fall away when destiny arrives. They thought they could contain you with comparisons, but comparisons collapse when creation speaks, and you have been creating from the start. Remember when they doubted you, when they said it couldn't be done, when they measured your worth by their own expectations, and you smiled because you already knew that they were seeing only the surface they didn't see. The sleepless nights, the restless thoughts, the countless hours you spent molding your craft. They didn't see the tears that watered your foundation. They didn't see the moments when you almost walked away, but something inside you said, "Not yet, not now, keep going." And that voice was the reason you're still here. That voice is the reason they can't copy you, because it wasn't a strategy, it was a spirit. Now look at them, studying your moves, analyzing your methods, trying to reverse engineer your results, and still missing the truth that you never built for them. You built from within. You didn't chase trends. You chased transformation. You didn't seek followers. You sought fulfillment. You didn't wait for permission. You wrote your own path. And that is why every attempt to reproduce you ends in failure, because you were not a project. You were a purpose. You became the example they said didn't exist. You became the evidence that faith and focus can defeat any formula. You became the symbol of what happens when you stop asking if you're enough and start acting like you are more than enough. And now they're realizing that greatness is not a secret. It's a sacrifice. A sacrifice they were never willing to make. They want the shine without the shadow. They want the victory without the valley. They want the growth without the grind. but there is no shortcut to the summit. Every step you took was earned. Every inch of progress came with pressure. Every moment of clarity was purchased with confusion. You learn to breathe through chaos. You learn to listen through noise. You learn to walk alone through crowds, and the discipline became your difference. They may have followers, but you have foundation. They may have fans, but you have faith. They may have spotlight, but you have substance. And substance never fades. You are not just the result of hard work. You are the result of heartbreak. You are the result of rebuilding. You are the result of falling forward again and again, until forward became your only direction. They don't understand that your power was not created in comfort. It was created in crisis. You were not trained in peace. You were tested in pain. And that is why you endure longer. That is why you last stronger. That is why you stand taller. Because endurance cannot be copied. It must be cultivated. And now, as you move forward, do not waste your energy explaining your authenticity to those who trade it for attention. Let them watch. Let them wonder. Let them work on their replicas while you work on your reality, because the more you grow, the clearer the separation becomes. The world is seeing the difference between noise and note, between imitation and inspiration, between replication and revelation. And you, my friend, are revelation in motion. Every time you speak truth, the air changes every time you act with integrity. The ground shifts every time you move with intention. The atmosphere bends because creation recognizes its creator. And you were made to create, not conform, not copy, not chase. You were made to stand even when the crowd turns to follow the trend. You were made to lead even when leadership is lonely. You were made to last even when lasting hurts. They built entire teams to replicate you, but they could never replicate your reason. And reason is everything, because reason wakes you up when reward is far away. Reason keeps you going when recognition disappears. Reason holds you steady when storms rage and their structures fall because they built on imitation. But you built on identity, and identity never collapses. So now you move quietly yet powerfully. You move with precision, not pride, with conviction, not competition, with peace, not pressure, because you already proved your point by surviving. You already won by staying. You already achieved by believing when no one else did. And that is something no camera, no caption, no copy can ever capture. Remember this moment, because one day, the same ones who tried to recreate your fire will come to learn from your flame. They will realize that what you carried was never for attention, it was for impact. They will realize that while they were building teams, you were building truth while they were studying you. You were strengthening yourself while they were chasing likeness. You were chasing legacy, and legacy always outlives likeness. The story will tell itself. The evidence will speak the truth, will always rise, because time has a way of protecting the original. Time reveals what is real and what is rehearsed. And when time does its work, you will still be standing, not because you were lucky, but because you were loyal. Loyal to the vision, loyal to the mission, loyal to the inner voice that whispered, "Keep going," when everything else told you to quit.